Brought to you by Make Fun Network.
Welcome to the Top 5 of Death, where listeners vote, and everyone dies. Listen and die.
Hello everyone and welcome to this week's episode of the Top 5 of Death. Matt has way too many children to be here, so I am your host for the week. Sam has no children, so I can be here, Haddix, and I am joined by both Charles and Will. Will coming at us all the way from the great state of Connecticut. Will, how are you doing this week, man?
Connecticut is the armpit of New England, and everybody agrees.
Yes, even the southern states agree.
It's that
Otherwise,
state,
I'm doing well.
it's
You
that
guys,
state where when you're driving through it, you're like, how long is this state going to go on for?
It's too long for how skinny of a state. It's too
too
long.
Yeah, and as you know, I drive back and forth from, up and down the East Coast to Jersey, and the worst drivers in the world have blue Connecticut license plates.
Mm-hmm.
They're just dreadful. Some lady tried to argue with me that last week, and I was just not having it.
No.
But anyway, did you guys get in on some of that Trump meme coin?
I didn't for a number of reasons. I saw that it existed. I was like, this is going to make money, like, because people. But I use what the heck do I use for that? Coinbase or whatever, and they don't have it. Which is weird. And so I gave it a cursory glance. I was like, they don't have it. I'm not going to do anything with it. But yes, Will, it seems like you made a killing this week.
Yeah. Made a couple thousand.
It's incredible.
Pretty quick money. And the funny part is I sold off my initial investment right before I left to drive down to Connecticut. And from then it was at $70, and by the time I got to my hotel it was at $40.
Yeah.
Pump and dump. Let's go.
Dunk. And this just in, about an hour and a half ago, they announced a Melania meme coin as well.
Oh,
God.
All right.
He's getting these in at the buzzer, isn't he? Like,
Well, everybody's up in arms because they think it's just an easy way for him to pull in foreign money without any regulation.
Oh,
and
is it?
They're likely right.
yes.
It is absolutely wild that, basically anyone with enough know-how can do that. They can create a shit coin and put it out there and see what happens. My cousin Dave made one once. I don't think anything happened with it.
Dave coin?
Dave coin. But he had the know-how to, actually do it, which was kind of impressive.
I have no idea how they're created, found, mined. I don't understand how you mine for coins. Do you have to pay to go to a mountain? I don't know.
It was explained to me once, and I was like, okay, I kind of understand, but I still don't understand. Has to do with computers solving mathematical equations,
I don't know.
which is as wild. But have any, aside from Trump coin or whatever it's called, the official Trump coin, have any of you guys actually had any successful crypto investments?
Hell yeah.
I'm actually just checking it right now on mine.
Paid for half my wedding.
I initially invested $30 in Dogecoin, and it's now worth $150.
Pretty good.
So there you go. Yep.
Let's see. I have about one Solana that I bought for $99, and I think it's worth $250 now, something like that.
Is Solana the other Trump daughter? Which one is that one?
No, so the Trump coin is on the Solana network.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, so can you watch reruns on the Solana network, or?
Yeah, a lot of shit articles posted by Solana.com. Sorry, that was a bad. This is the quality of joke that you're going to get here on the Top 5 of Death. My funniest ride that I took was with ApeCoin, which is if you remember the NFTs that were very popular, the bored apes or whatever. What are they called? Is it bored apes?
Sure, I don't know.
Yeah, some sort of stupid ape thing, but they were just going for hundreds of thousands of dollars, these NFTs, which was just wild. But then they announced they were coming out with their own coin, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna throw $100 at this, see what happens. And let's see, I think it went from like it was started at like $3, and then it went up to like $7, and I was like, ooh, I'm cashing out. That's great. And then it shot up to 20, and I was like, oh crap,
I'm back in.
I'm back in. So like I definitely like bought some back, and then it went down to like $1.50.
So what you did, you want to do the opposite of that.
Yeah.
That's how you make the money.
Buy low, sell high.
Quick couple of safe bets. You want to invest in Ethereum and Chainlink.
So
The
Ether, I
fencing.
feel like
So am I supposed to go to like Home Depot and buy a bunch of Chainlink, or
No, Charles.
oh Charles. Ether has been like, I feel like really super steady now. It's like hasn't really taken an exciting ride in a while. But I have some Ether.
It should make up some ground on Bitcoin this year.
Oh, we'll see. Maybe I'll do the responsible thing and take all the nonprofit holding money and dump it into Ether.
Do it. Retire early.
What could possibly go wrong? Trust me, when we were doing Shutterhound and I had like everyone made their payments like up front, you know, we sold like 130 tickets or something the first day, and I was like, should I keep this in the business account, or should I just invest it in something scary and see what happens? But yeah, that would have gotten a little hairy. Being responsible. Charles, how are you? How's your week been?
my week's been good. I've been trying to figure out where on my couch it smells like vomit, so I've been doing that all week.
So you've been smelling your couch all week?
Yes.
Inch by inch?
Yes. That is how we had to figure out where it came from, and we think we found it. But yeah, my dog, much like Sam's dogs, my dog has decided to just throw up in the morning because. So yeah, she threw up on the couch at one point, washed it, and then after washing it, she threw up on it again, and we found it way later than we should have. So after washing it, we were still sitting on the couch, and it's like, this place stinks, so why do we still smell it? And yeah, I sat around smelling the couch, and then at one point the dogs walked up next to me like, what are you doing? What are you smelling here? Can I help?
You get something good going on right there.
Yeah.
You gonna pee
just
on
got that the way I want it.
Yeah. So we borrowed my dad's like carpet cleaning vacuum, and yeah, I went to town on the couch, the carpet, actually our office chairs. Yo, office chairs are gross. Like, how do these get so gross? We don't, but yeah, did all that. That's what I've been doing. That's what I've been doing this week, I think. I don't know. I don't have a job.
So instead of editing The Greatest Adventure, you've just been smelling your couch.
Yes, that's why I was. That's why I was like, sorry guys, it's taking so long on this episode, and it's because I'm sitting there just like, I can't figure out where this fucking vomit is.
Turning into JD Vance.
That's right. It starts with the smelling.
Yeah.
Are you wearing eyeliner tonight?
The smelling's the beginning of a long courtship
Yeah.
between Charles and his couch.
I'd like, if we were closer to moving, I'd be like, you know what? Let's just toss this couch right now. This couch is an IKEA couch that I've had for years. The cats have destroyed the side of it. So I'm like, you know what? The minute I can get rid of this couch, I'm going to get rid of it, which is how I know I'm going to have this couch for another 10 fucking years.
That was one of the best feelings ever, is when we moved out of our last apartment before we moved into our house. We had Kaylee's couch from when she was like, I don't know, 20 or something like that. And we had it for freaking ever. And the day that we moved, I was like, I get to toss this thing into the dumpster. I'm wheeling it down and like get all the way to the dumpster and just like, just do like this squat push into the, right into the dumpster and make like the most tremendous, ridiculous sound. And I was like, that's satisfying, because that couch was dirty. Yeah, that's the sound a couch makes.
Yep.
Well, that's how dirty it was.
Yeah. In fact, the couch that I'm on right now up in my little bonus room, this is the couch from when I was 20. So this couch has seen some things. So.
Oh, yeah. I guess I can say, I'm officially going to make an announcement. I am declaring myself for the Royal Rumble party. I have... I have bought my flight, so I will be coming up on Friday, leaving on Sunday.
Hell yeah. I'm going to pick you up from the airport. Yep, Charles is going to stay with me for a couple nights.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll
am
make
I going to be on that
appearance
couch?
at the Royal Rumble party. No. No, there's a proper guest room here. Oh, boy.
But yeah.
If you want to sit on the couch at the party, you're going to have to get there at like 7 a.m.
I'll be sitting all day anyway.
that party gets packed.
Yeah.
And it's pretty cool. Like honestly, as opposed to being at the Rumble, it's the next best thing is to enjoy it with that particular group of people. It's very fun.
Well, I had to bring my Slammy Award. I'm the defending Women's Rumble champion.
That's great. Any idea how much we're betting?
It's usually $20 a pick, I think.
All right, we're gonna come loaded. And then who are we expecting to win this year? Cena
I guess Cena would be the favorite, right?
or Punk, right?
Cena,
Yeah.
Cena and Punk were the favorites, but like I could see them pulling that shit with Cena, where it's like he eliminates 28 people. He starts at 1, gets all the way to the end, and then he gets fucking tossed out by like Punk.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to be fair, like he does need an excuse to be in the Elimination Chamber match as well.
Mm-hmm. Money in the Bank, all
All of the things.
all of them.
Yeah. It's very funny. John Cena, like he's one of those people that is actually kind of, I guess, maybe the opposite of what we're going to be talking about today, because today's topic is, separating the art from the artists, kind of like art that we love from people who are kind of shitty people. But John Cena is one of those people I see everywhere, and sometimes the art isn't the best, but I always see him and I can't help but smile because he's a good dude.
You hope.
I went to McDonald's the other day to get a cheeseburger for my dog Joshua, and as I was sitting in line, who pops up on the ordering screen? John Cena.
He's a McDonald's spokesman?
Yeah, dude's got to make some
God.
money somewhere, huh?
Because he's struggling.
Yeah.
Sam, I got a question.
Shoot.
Since you're a pretty fit guy, you seem pretty health conscious. Do you go to McDonald's and get food only for your dog?
Yes.
That's a good dog dad.
Yeah, that particular time, I got myself a burger, and I haven't had a burger from McDonald's in a little over a year or whatever. And I got one, and I took a bite, and I was like, holy shit, this tastes crazy. And I ate it and enjoyed it and immediately felt bad, but my expectations were set correctly. I was like, I'm going to eat this, I'm going to feel bad. Like, there's no way around it. And it's exactly what happened. So it's just often enough for me to remind myself, like, oh, yeah, I shouldn't do that again. But it always seems like a good idea in the moment.
On the quick topic of fast food, I came home Friday from the road, and I got home a little earlier than Rosa, a couple hours, and I went into the local burrito joint, Tacos Lupita, shout out. And I got each a burrito because it's like one of our favorite things. Mm-hmm. And then I proceeded to get home, sit down, and eat half of hers before I realized it was hers.
Now,
then I wrapped it up.
Are they wildly different burritos?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, pretty much. And I put the other one in, wrapped it up again, put it in the microwave to save for her when she got home, and tell her the sad story. And then she reheated the half that I ate it, and then it's been sick as a dog ever since.
Oh no! That's what she ordered, the fish and toothpaste burrito, and you got the PB&J.
My mouth germs reacted with that burrito.
That's also like always a roll of the dice, is if going to the local burrito place, because sometimes they're good, but most often you can see the sanitary conditions of the place a mile away. You
gotta watch them. If there's not somebody cleaning actively all the time,
no,
it's no good.
No,
because it could be a shithole of a building, but as long as they're wiping the counters down constantly, you see it. It's like, all right.
Yeah. Very different from a Chipotle, which is always sparkling clean. I actually went to a local burrito place in Nashua the other day. It was like next to the car dealership where I was getting my like oil and whatever done, my maintenance. And I went inside and I was like, all right, this is going to be a roll of the dice. And then as my burrito was getting made, this little girl, like this like 5-year-old girl, comes like running in with like a paper with a drawing on it. And to the woman behind the counter, she was like, "Abuela, abuela, look!" And she like showing like her grandmother like this drawing that she did, and it was the sweetest thing. And I was like, all right, if I get sick, at least they seem to be nice people. They're just doing their best.
The same goes for Chinese food restaurants. If
Yeah.
there's a kid doing homework at one of the tables,
Yeah.
those people are working hard, and you're going to get some good food.
Yep. Gotta love a little child labor. Very nice, very nice.
How's your week, Sam? How you
Oh,
doing?
thank you for asking. It's been good. It's been good. I'm getting some stuff done for this whole month is kind of like Camp Bow Wow month for me. They're one of our sponsors, and they have like a different deliverable that's due like every week. So I've been kind of working on little projects for them all week. Actually, today I did something that was it was kind of interesting. I was using ChatGPT to help me with some captions for a reel that I'm doing for them. Because I just needed something short and sweet, and my brain was not working properly today. So I wrote out some prompts. I was like, tell me about us taking this dog from the shelter and for an amazing day at Camp Bow Wow where we did this, that, and that, and make it 4 sentences long. And it did pretty good. And so I kept prompting it or whatever. And I said, all right, now use verbiage found on this website. I said campbowwow.com. And then sure enough, it's like starting to sound more like that. I'm like, all right, that's cool. Still sounds kind of corporate-y. I was like, now put it in the voice of Kaylee Greer. Which is wild because ChatGPT knows who she is. And has enough of like a sample of her writing from like online where it just started to call everything magical.
Of course it did.
Which was so funny. ChatGPT does not know who I am, but it definitely knows who she is, and it's very funny to ask it things about her.
I typed Doug into ChatGPT and it exploded.
just Doug.
Yeah, we had Doug and Emmy over last night for our first foundation meeting of the year, and we just basically were talking about heading out for our next leg of our trip starting at the end of March, kind of where we're going, what we're going to do, some strategies, things we want to do differently from the first trip, like all that good stuff. So we're just kind of still in like getting ready mode and recuperation mode, because it's a lot once we're out there. So I'm just trying to plan the rest of the year. So that's really been what I've been up to, other than playing at least an hour of Spider-Man 2 on PS5 every night and cleaning up dog puke. So, yeah, that's been my week. And in an unprecedented turn of events, I won last week again. So I've won
Oh my God.
2 weeks in a row, where prior to that I had not won since I'm pretty sure June or July of the of the previous year. And there's no song this week.
Oh my God, I got no votes? What the
Listen, welcome to
I
my
voted
world.
for you.
There's been so many weeks where it's been 0 votes for me, and I try not to take it personally, but it hurts a little single tear.
This is my year now. This is how it's gonna go.
Yeah. Well, I keep saying 2025. All the children on the street keep singing. Ow. So I've got some deaths. And let's see. I'm thinking about reading them off the phone. It's weird. The phone like interacts with my microphone sometimes, so I hear like a little robotic noise. So if that happens, yeah, that's just what it is.
Getting a text message.
All right. So they're a little on the lengthy side. So without further ado, we'll get to it. Matt, exhausted from a long day at work and depressed by a cold and rainy day, finally arrived home. He shook out his umbrella and opened the door to discover 2 muddy paw prints in the hallway. Annoyed, he noticed more prints leading up the stairs. As he followed the trail, his anger grew and his blood pressure rose. He grasped the handrail, but quickly pulled his hand away in disgust. A long trail of sticky saliva connected his hand to the railing. Matt's face flushed with anger, and he followed the muddy paw prints down the hall to his bedroom door, flinging it open. There on the bed, completely saturated with mud, lay the family dog, a massive Saint Bernard. The dog was soaked to the bone, and Matt's usually immaculate bed was in muddy ruins. Mozart! Matt roared in frustration. Sure, this dog may have saved his nerd son from bullies and his daughter from drowning, but this was too much. In fact, now that he thought about it, Matt didn't even have a son, and the daughter the dog had saved from drowning was his least favorite daughter anyways. The dog had to go. Matt, a staunch Republican and a wild-card gun-toting American, slowly reached into his side holster to draw his handgun. He drew, but the dog was quicker. Before Matt could fire a shot, Mozart drew his own gun and fired 3 rapid-fire rounds into Matt's chest. Mozart, Matt croaked as the light faded from his eyes. Let's see. Oh, okay. Something weird happened here. All right. Mozart, Matt croaked as the light faded from his eyes. Matt laughed. Oh, sorry. Mozart laughed. A mean, evil laugh. He knew that, Matt or no Matt, he'd be back for no less than 6 sequels of diminishing quality.
Isn't that the truth? Fucking Beethoven 1 and 2 were great.
They're like, Beethoven's Treasure Island is like the 7th movie. Yeah, actually, no, that was an original story, though. Totally original story. Nothing to do with Beethoven. Charles came home from a long day of work. I mean, a long run to find his dog Nala had somehow escaped her crate. Perplexed, Charles examined the crate closely. Son of a bitch, he said, scratching his amber beard. The crate was shut and locked, with nothing out of place. Did I forget to put you in the crate before I left? He asked Nala, who only tilted her head innocently at him. Wait, there's an easy way to figure this out, Charles said, as he opened the security camera app on his phone. He scrolled back until he found the clip he was looking for. More perplexed than ever, Charles watched as he put Nala in her crate and properly secured the latch. What happens next? Charles murmured. The video continued and showed Charles donning his pink and green neon running leotard and then leaving through the front door. For the next 3 minutes, the video showed Nala sitting patiently in her crate. And then suddenly, she was outside of her crate. Wait, what? What did I miss? Charles puzzled as he rewound the tape. There she was, inside the crate one frame, and then suddenly outside in the next. The actual fuck? Charles whispered. Charles tried to show Jess, but was dismissed immediately as Jess was too busy reading elf smut. Night after night, Charles couldn't sleep. He lay awake, unable to comprehend what he had seen on the security app. Was it a glitch? A faulty crate? How did she get out? As his sleep deprivation continued, his rationalizations became more and more unhinged. On his 6th night of no sleep, it came to him what had happened and what needed to be done. Nala awoke in the middle of the night to the sound of her master slowly shuffling over to her. It was you. It was you all along. There's not a glitch in the app or a problem with the crate. It's you. You're a creature from beyond this world, and you need to be stopped. From behind his back, Charles produced a kitchen knife. Moonlight glistened off its long, sharp blade. I'm sorry, girl, Charles said as he raised the knife above his head. Before he could deliver the killing blow, Nala drew her gun and fired 3 rapid-fire shots into Charles's chest, killing him instantly. There's no need for that. There's no need for that, she said in a low British accent. No need at all. One day, Will got a little too excited.
Wonder where this goes.
One day,
Will got a little too excited and bit some guy. He couldn't really be blamed for it, but he still had to be put on a bite list. Months later, there was another unfortunate incident where, after receiving an unwanted bill, Will bit his mailman. His friends and family were dismayed to receive a call from the local government stating that Will would need to be put down in a week's time. They were determined, however, to give Will his best day ever. They took him to the Chicken Connection and pretended it was still open, slyly serving Will KFC without him noticing. They took him to the local vape shop and let him vape until he puked. They wiped tears from their eyes, ready to say goodbye to Will, when suddenly a call came in stating that the local executioner was feeling a bit under the weather and Will would be allowed to live, assuming he was a good boy. The family high-fived and celebrated this deus ex machina when all of a sudden a pit bull wearing a halter top approached. "This is for kidnapping me in the 90s," an elderly Cleo shouted as she drew her gun. Before anyone could realize that this made no sense, Cleo rapidly fired 3 shots into Will's stomach, killing him instantly.
In my defense, I was like 28 when I kidnapped that dog. So it wasn't in the 90s.
Sorry. So listen, so it's more plausible,
Yes.
is what you're saying. And that's how you all
the
died.
chest.
Fantastic.
Very well. I love it.
Thank you, thank you.
I just was waiting for you to reach behind your back and unsheath a guitar.
Trust me, if I didn't have company this weekend, we would have made something happen.
I'm still waiting on you to pull the what is it, the Weird Al, where he keeps reaching for the guitar and then he never actually does anything. It's just goes, picks it up, just puts it back down, and then continues your story.
Oh my God. What a national treasure that man is. I was hanging out with my friend Jay, and he's got kids, and his daughter is like 10 or something like that. So I was talking to her about music, and she's really into Chapel Rowan, and I told Jay, I was like, yeah, as long as she doesn't understand the lyrics, right? And he's like, yeah, pretty much. But we were talking about Hot to Go, and I was like, have you seen the Weird Al cover of Hot to Go? And he's like, no, he changes the lyrics. I'm like, nope, he just straight up covers it. And it's great.
Amazing.
It's not like a parody. He just covers the song, and I think in that in itself makes it funny.
I have to watch
He
this
never ceases
afterwards.
to amaze me.
Yeah, so good. Who would like to explain a little bit more about our topic today? I know we covered it briefly, but
I barely understand it.
I guess I can, because this was a topic I feel like I pitched to you in October, and then I like just put it on the list last week. Also, I'm aware, apparently my internet's still doing that thing. I don't know if I've lagged to y'all, but y'all are lagging to me every now and then.
tiny bit.
Who knows? But this week we're talking about top 5 separating the art from the artist, and I had this idea because I have a very specific pick on my list, my number 1, that I'm like, yeah, this is kind of fucked up to have as my like pick, but like there are certain artists out there where you're like, damn, I just love this song or like this movie, but this person is a horrible person or a problematic person, or in today's climate, they apparently don't agree with you politically, which can count. But yeah, that I feel like that was a fun, interesting thing to come up with and see what we can just see what we get out of it. See, because there's some people. My one pick on the list, I don't like to talk to people about because he's pretty fucked up. So stick around for my number 1. So,
Fantastic.
I can barely justify it to myself.
Yeah. No, I like this topic because that is before we even really get into the specific picks. How do you guys feel about? Is this something you're able to do in general?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Again, when I get to my number 1, it'll make sense.
We'll know why.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sure there are specific examples for each one of our picks as to why or what our rationale is as well. But like, I know there are some people that just cannot. They're like, oh, this person did this, therefore I can never listen to their music or watch a movie with them or hear about them again. I just will boycott it like forever. And I disagree with that to an extent. And again, I think we'll talk about it as we get into it. And Will, how about you?
So my list, I kind of did it both ways. So maybe I like the person and hate their art.
Sure.
Oh, hey.
Yeah. All right.
There you go.
Good.
But yeah,
I could have done a whole separate list like that, actually.
I feel like there is a solid 5 names that just everybody could rattle off, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I tried to avoid some of the bigger, more obvious ones.
Yeah.
But also find out some interesting things about people. And my number 1, I liked him until yesterday.
Oh no.
So
What a day.
it was a great adventure of discovery.
That's great. All right. Who wants to start?
I can kick it off.
Oh, okay.
My number 5 is Jerry Seinfeld.
Oh, all right.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, everybody loves Seinfeld. I mean, I was a huge fan. I've seen every episode probably 4 or 5 times. His stand-up is good, not great, but the the show was the greatest show of all time, the greatest sitcom, until Curb Your Enthusiasm hit like their 10th season. But I digress. But Jerry Seinfeld, at his peak of popularity in the late 90s, early 2000s, was openly dating a 17-year-old.
That's right.
Oh, Jesus.
Yep, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
And he kind of did that Leo DiCaprio thing and traded him in when they got too old and they started growing hair. Mm-hmm. So that just makes him a piece of shit. And if you've ever seen him, he didn't do a lot of like interviews and stuff after the show ended, but he has been out there a little bit more, and he just comes off as the most arrogant prick. And I get it; it's kind of a shtick, but it seems like no, this guy's really just a piece of shit. Like he would never shake your hand. I think he's one of those people. But yeah, that's my take on Seinfeld.
Aside from the show Seinfeld, did he really do anything up until like the movie that came out recently, the Kellogg's one or whatever it's called?
The B movie.
Oh my God,
Good
that's
Lord.
right.
Which was a 6 out of 10.
Yeah.
The one he made, what was it called? Like Frosted something? Frosted.
The Pop-Tart movie, yeah.
Yeah.
Unfrosted.
Unfrosted, that's
Yeah.
it. I really enjoyed it.
It was
A lot
good.
of people said it was terrible, but I mean,
No,
it was a
it-
good hour and a half.
It was a
Shit
basic comedy movie. Like, you shouldn't. I don't know if people were expecting like a comedic masterpiece. No, you're getting like easy pitches, right? Just easy jokes the whole time. Just sit
The other
back and
thing he
enjoy it.
did that saw some success was the movie Comedian, and I thought that was a pretty good piece there, where they kind of showed the process of writing a whole new hour of material and over the time it takes to do that. And they had this weird like side character in the documentary who was what I have to assume was Banya from the Seinfeld show, just this really annoying up and coming comic who's always up his ass. It's, Orny Adams, that was the guy's name. He's a good comic who's grinded it out. He's got good jokes, but you just want to punch him in the face.
Now I'm one of those rare people that like never really watched Seinfeld, and I know I always get that it just never was in front of me enough. You know what I mean? It's not that I went out of my way to avoid it. It just didn't happen for me. But that was on in the mid to late 90s.
Right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it ended in like 02, 03.
All right, let's see. Hang on.
Really?
How old is Jerry Seinfeld? He is 70. Okay. So he's 70 now. So in the late 90s, he would have been in his late 40s, something like that. Mid to
went-
late 40s. And he was
Seinfeld
dating-
ran 89 to 98.
89 and 98. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So during that time, he was dating a 17-year-old.
Yes.
Yeah.
Woof.
Going out to galas and celebrity shit. It's like, we got to leave early. She's got school in the morning.
Oof. Not awesome.
It's wild that it's that recent, 20 years or so ago. That was nobody really gave a shit. There wasn't any public outrage.
Right. And then I know you brought him up, so I don't want to step on anyone's topic with like a Leonardo DiCaprio, but like someone like that who's been around for some time, they seem to get a pass at it as well. Like, yeah, but you're like old. You've been doing this forever, so it's fine. You can just keep doing it. But yeah, anybody new or of like this more current generation, like it's just not gonna pass immediately. You know what I mean? So it's very interesting that those people seem to get a weird pass at it. But no, that's creepy. That's creepy and gross.
Yeah.
Let's come on, definitively say that.
Great show writer. Kind of a skis bag.
Yeah, well, shit butt. Charles, you number 5?
Yeah. My number 5 is a country singer. He goes by the name of Morgan Wallen. Have y'all ever heard of him?
I know the
Is
name.
Is this guy that just had some controversy
He's had several.
with his
But-
breakup or something?
Well, he's had a nice timeline, but like the reason he's on here is because he has. This is the one like Jess and I like immediately agreed upon as a good example. He released like a 20-track album last year or the year before, and he has just been every song is a hit single. Like, and it's good. It's good country music. He has a great singing voice for it, but he's a shit individual. And he's constantly had issues going back from, well, DUI in 2016, 2020 public intoxication, failing COVID protocols, outwardly used a racial slur in 2021.
Two of those are bad.
He also canceled summer tour dates, and then just left a handwritten letter to his fans. Most recently, he has also canceled concerts because of rain, just because it was a drizzle or didn't want to show up. He also threw a chair off of a rooftop bar and it almost hit a cop. So he's currently facing charges for that. And he actually, December 12th, pled guilty to it. Yeah, he's just outwardly a shit individual. It's very obvious he is, but he writes a lot of bangers, country bangers. So that's who he is. It's one of those people damn it, I like this song, but I don't want to like him. So
it's so you lagged for a second on that, but I think it also speeds up your audio from when you were lagging.
It does. Don't worry, it does it on the other side too.
Sweet.
I don't know what's going on with my setup.
That's all right.
So
we got the point. It is weird that artists just like get like a weird pass. You're like, well, you're an asshole, but I really like your music, so you keep on doing you.
Yeah.
So I know you talked about it right at the start of the topics, but is there anyone that because of their personal issues you stopped enjoying their stuff?
Not for me.
Not that I can think of, honestly. I would really have to think about it, because if they were, they are so far now removed from my lexicon that like I can't even think about it. I'd have to stumble across something and go, oh wait, I don't like this.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we can revisit that in an honorable mention after. I don't want to snipe anything.
Yeah, it's funny researching some of this as well. You know, you just Google like, who's a real shit butt in Hollywood?
Yeah.
Or which musician is a known asshole? There is a oh my god, why am I gonna blank on it right now? There is a podcast that's about basically like you know how they do that series like the Dark Side of the Ring or like Dark Side of the 90s or whatever. It's basically like that, but about usually musicians. And the guy's from here. Jake Brennan is his name. Crap, what's the name of his podcast? It's very popular, but I think that he's exclusive with like Amazon or something like that. But he covers
Amazon does podcast?
Yeah, something like that. I mean, but it's really interesting to hear like these deep dives onto like, you know, these musicians or celebrities or whatever that are like really shitty people. But then you think like, oh, he's got to run out of material at some point. But it's like, nope. On season 12 of, you know, there's just more and more people. So I think it's a lot more common than you'd suspect until you start diving into it. I will come up with the name of that podcast as we go on.
I mean, most successful musicians want to be rock stars or just live that kind of lifestyle. So they're always ripe for controversy.
Yes, I did go into a different genre for my number 5. Disgraceland. That's the name of the podcast. It is good. It's very good. We did a photo shoot for his like wife like 15 years ago, like before he was like big, which was, this is very weird small connection to him. But my number 5 is Hulk Hogan.
Good pick. Yep.
That was one of the ones I thought was too obvious. Like,
yes, yeah. Same.
Because like, listen, even in his prime, he was not a good wrestler.
No.
Is like there was, I mean, it's him versus The Rock is a very entertaining match. Did nothing to do with the wrestling. And other than that, like you can watch any Hulk Hogan match from 1985 through 2005, and they're all exactly the same, except he moves slower and slower, with each passing year,
lumbering across the ring.
Does less and less. But he is just like the absolute embodiment of the 80s. And like he's one of those things. He's he's pretty much the same as like E.T. You know, see like E.T. and Hulk Hogan and like My Little Pony or whatever, and you're just like, all those things are the same. they're all just like pure embodiments of the 80s and like the wonderful nostalgia for that time, for a much simpler time. But he's a real shitbutt. And he just seems to be getting shittier as time goes on. There was, of course, the videotaped racist comments about his daughter's boyfriend, his, extreme use of the N-word. And then what I think is actually more offensive than that is the constant photo ops that he's in with like black families for the next following 5 years at every conceivable opportunity. And you're like, oh, dude, we get it. We get what you're trying to do. It's not cool. Just let it go. Yeah. And there's that. There's the sex tape. There's the suing of Gawker or whatever, all the lawsuits. And these are just recent things.
Well, he won that Gawker thing, didn't he?
Yes, he did. He put them out of business.
Completely down.
Yep. Yep. And he made a fucking crazy amount of money in that lawsuit.
And the sex tape was him banging Bubba the Love Sponge's wife. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
That's so Florida.
Yeah. It is very Florida. I know it's funny. I think the thing that people remember, even if they haven't seen it, they've probably like read an article or something like that about it. And the thing that always comes up is how he's talking about like how much he just ate and how like much he feels like a fat fuck. It's like part of the tape. It's so weird.
And I remember watching it when it came out, and he had a very mediocre penis for a man that size.
Especially considering he's like 6'8" or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I can't, without even getting into like him screwing over wrestlers, you know what I mean? Which is a list that goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on.
Here's a reason to hate him.
Yep.
That he signs every tweet HH.
Yep. God bless,
Completely
brother.
unnecessary.
Yep.
Don't work yourself into a work or you'll shoot your work into it. Whatever. Nonsensical tweet he sent out so long ago.
Oh my God, so good.
What'd you think of him getting booed out of the Netflix premiere?
I thought that was hilarious. I thought it was so funny and well deserved too, because like, again, he's coming out after his performance or whatever at Trump's rally. He's coming out to a gigantic hot crowd in Los Angeles, who's very much on the opposite end of the spectrum politically. And then on top of that, he can barely speak as it is. And on top of that, all he's there to do is sell his beer, which now we have to look at as a big logo of the beer in the ring forever. I feel bad for Jimmy Hart.
That was the real victim in this whole thing. Poor Jimmy Hart.
Yep.
Why'd they do this to him?
Because I feel like Jimmy Hart's one of those people that nobody has a bad thing to say about.
Jimmy Hart's an annoying fuck.
I can't believe you're talking about my number 3.
Did you watch that show Legends House when the WWE? Yeah. That was a fantastic show. I am so mad they didn't do another one. But Jimmy Hart was so fucking annoying. He bothered everybody in that house.
No, he just wants to be liked. Yeah, fucking Hulk Hogan. Like I can't help but like smile when I see old Hulk Hogan, but at the same time, I'm just like, oh, it's just too bad he's such a piece of shit.
And not only that, he's been doing the come out, say the lines, and go back for how many years? Like, we're all done. Just go away, man.
Yeah, I was at that WrestleMania 30 when he came out and called the Superdome the Silver Dome, and everyone started to boo him then.
and then The Rock came out.
Yeah, and this was like
him.
15 years ago, and he could barely, hold a coherent sentence together. So it's just gotten worse. It's getting rougher and rougher to see him. So yeah, my number 5 is Hulk Hogan.
Solid pick.
Thank you.
Good pick.
Will, your number 4, sir?
Oh shit, I fucked up my numbering. My number 4 is the Insane Clown Posse. I like those guys. I like them. They seem cool. They seem down to earth. They're a little, as Matt would, call them, two liberal fucking maniacs or whatever. But that's fine. They just seem like good guys. They're funny. They made their own wrestling federation, the JCW, the Juggalo Championship Wrestling. That takes a lot of effort. I got to give them credit for that. I can't listen to one of their songs. I don't know one of them that I would be like, oh, it's not bad. No, nothing.
Oh, yeah.
Charles, I bet you got a couple up your sleeve that you got on your workout list, don't you?
I don't like the Insane Clown Posse in
0%?
either form. No,
Sam?
none.
No, God, no. But this is a great pick of kind of the opposite, of what we've been talking about. And I love that. So, yeah, because I agree with you. They seem like they're pretty cool guys. But that music is trash. It's such trash.
So bad. And the Juggalo Festival, I would never go within 20 miles of it. Seems like people are having a pretty good fucking time over there, though.
Yeah.
They get I remember seeing videos of fucking 400-pound guys getting blown by hot chicks.
Good for them.
That's a good fucking time,
I have
Where
one
else
friend
can you get that?
I have one friend that goes there every year, and she's wicked cool, and she's very much also she's an indie wrestling promoter, which is wild. She sets up shows and does all sorts of work. So I think she's actually worked the festival as well. She goes every year, and she's been going for 20 years or something like that, which just blows my mind because again, there's no amount of money you could pay me to go to that thing. It seems like it must stink so bad.
Oh my god. It's like the smelly wrestling fans in the nosebleed seats. It's just but 50,000 of them.
Right.
And they stay there for 3 days.
Yes.
Sweating.
Yes. A bunch of unwashed, unhealthy people with so much weed in the air. I couldn't. This literally just throw a dollar amount at me and I'd tell you if I'd go for it. The answer is no.
Yes. But to each their own. Don't tread on me. I don't tread on you. You go fucking paint your face like a fucking weirdo and get really wasted and sleep in mud.
Yep.
Have at it.
Yep.
What do they all like to do those stupid artsy things like fancy hula hoops.
No.
Fucking people with what do you call them? Devil sticks.
Oh yeah, that sounds right.
A lot of that going on there.
It sounds terrible. But again, you see them come out at an ECW show, and you're like, these guys rock.
Yeah, I thought they were great on-screen characters. They took pretty big bumps for being amateurs.
Yeah.
That one guy, the bigger guy, I don't know which is which. They're Jay and Silent Bob or something. Shaggy Too Dope is that one?
Sure.
And I can't think of the
Violent
other ones.
Skinny J, Violent J,
Grandmaster Jay.
Grandmaster Flip. Okay.
I think so. Yeah, good guys. I would share a beer with them.
Matt would be rolling over in his grave right now if he weren't shot by a Saint Bernard.
But he was.
Yep. It's just what happens. That's a great pick.
Yeah.
Charles, you're number 4.
Yes. My number 4 is also one of these people that's a very obvious one. My number 4 is Kanye West.
Yeah.
Because I love all
You
of
hate
his
his
shit right up until what's the album with Black Skinhead on it? Also, I Am a God. I don't know. I think it's Yeezus. Is that album? I love everything up to that album, and after that, not great. But that's around the point where he started becoming an issue with everything he was saying and doing. If you're not familiar with it, where the fuck have you been? But yeah, I love all his early work, and now I can't stand him as a person.
I wish I had more to say about this because the only thing I know about him is that he seems like a shit person. I don't like any of that music. I'm just not a rap guy.
Oh.
So
Yeah, he's definitely somebody who suffered from surrounding himself with yes men who called him a genius for decades. And he believes that he's a genius and says that he's a genius all the time, which is something I think a genius would be more humble than that. It is pretty unfortunate. He set up this whole school, the Donda
God.
Academy.
yeah.
Named after
which
his
is it's now
mom?
defunct.
Do you name it after his mom or his grandma?
his mom, who very tragically and trashily died having plastic surgery.
Oh my god!
How awful is that? That he probably paid for. So maybe that's what sent him off the fucking rails.
Yeah, I didn't know that about his mom. I know the Donda thing. It was supposed to be the sound of her heartbeat as she died or something. But that sucks. Plastic surgery.
Yeah, that's really one of the most useless ways to die.
That BBL.
Oh, are we talking about Bailey?
She doesn't have a Brazilian butt lift.
No, Pam's all natural.
Pam,
you fucking loser. Anybody who calls a wrestler by their real name.
Hey, I just got Dave Howard's vote for the week, all right? Leave me alone.
How about them Lions?
Fantastic. Kanye. What's the over-under on when he dies and how he dies? I know there's not an over-under on that, but... Because I'm guessing sooner than later. I don't think this man lives to be an old man.
It's a good take.
Like I would want to guess something that like is just completely outlandish, but like this sounds ridiculous. I could see him being so self-confident in himself, be like, I could shoot myself in the head and live, and he would do it.
Yeah,
like, that's what would happen. So probably that.
I met someone who was working at a GNC once.
So
Okay.
you were at a GNC?
Yes, it's a wild type that works there usually. There was this kid, and he was like 17, 18, something like that. And I went in to buy one thing and leave, and he just like sucked me into his like insane world where he just wanted to talk at someone. But he was telling me that he's like, I figured out that I'm limitless. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, literally, I can lift any amount of weight as many times as I need to. It's unbelievable. And I was like, okay, man. And then like he just wouldn't let me go for like 15 minutes. But like I do know that there are some people out there that truly believe that they are invincible and like limitless, and I feel like Kanye is one of those people. So yeah, he's gonna die trying to like recreate like a Houdini stunt or something like that.
I met this kid at my buddy's wedding who was kind of like that. He had to be autistic. But he was just like going through these scenarios, and this is right after the wedding, and the groom is in the hotel room, and they just decide they're going to start like practicing fighting and wrestling till like 4 a.m. And there was this one kid, and he's like, "What would you do if I came at you?" And he put his hand like this, like a shark fin, right in front of his eyes. And then he's like, "Okay, now what would you do if I walked towards you like this?" And my buddy, the groom, just launched him up in the air and landed him on the table covered in glasses and beer bottles. I'm just like, Jesus Christ, Murphy! Like, yeah, it was stupid of him to think that this was going to do anything. But didn't have to assault the guy. And the kid gets up out of all the broken glass and goes, no, he did the right thing.
Listen, it's the only way he'll learn. Oh man.
Anyways,
people are wild. Speaking of wild, my number 4 is Tim Allen.
Damn.
Because like I think if you were to search online and like, or you know, if you were to query Google or ChatGPT or something like that, who is a known asshole in Hollywood? They're like number one example is going to be Tim Allen. There's story after story of people who encounter them. If you go on Reddit, there's lots of people who are like, I worked like catering on this movie, or I did like this small job on this movie, and he was just like an absolute piece of shit nonstop to everyone he met. I'm going to blank on this guy's name too. He was the guy that played Severus Snape.
Alan Rickman?
Alan Rickman, thank you. And then passed away, unfortunately. His diaries have like since come out, and he has some choice things to say about Tim Allen on the set of Galaxy Quest. Apparently
fun
he
fact, that's the only movie I think I've ever seen in the theaters twice.
Oh, nice. What a good choice. Yeah, apparently he just played himself in that movie, which was apparent to everyone except for him. But man, in the 90s, he was just one of those people. You put him on screen, you can't not smile at it. between like the Santa Claus, like Jungle to Jungle, Toy Story, and then having, Home Improvement all at that same time. The guy was absolutely on top of the world, and everyone loved everything he was in. And apparently he's just a total piece of shit.
Well, that, and when he got arrested in Detroit as a young comedian, he got off on it because he ratted out everybody around him.
Yes. And I mean, and I would even I wouldn't hold that against them. It's like, all right, when he was young, he was like a drug dealer and he got arrested and he ratted people out and blah, blah, blah. And then, he learned from his mistakes and he moved on and maybe he's a better person. But all he did was get rich and then remained a piece of shit, which sucks. And again, he's another one of those guys that's like, on one end of the political spectrum, and that has nothing to do with him being a piece of shit, necessarily. It's just that obviously I don't agree with a lot of the way he thinks. And unfortunately, his art suffered his art, quote unquote, has suffered in the last however many years because he seems to keep making the same television show over and over again.
That's funny you say that because a guy I work with last week asked me, "Hey, did you see the new Tim Allen show, Changing Gears?" Whatever
Sure.
the fuck it is. And I go, yeah, I've been watching it since the 90s.
Yes.
It's all the same fucking show. and I get tired of it. I mean, but I feel like it's a little unfair of you, Sam, because he doesn't hide anything. He is who he portrays on the screen, just, a little shittier when the camera's off, I think.
I think a lot shittier when the camera's off. I think he's the big reason why Pam Anderson was the original Tool Time girl, but then wasn't all of a sudden.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. No.
I remember reading those rumors or allegations.
Yeah.
That he flashed her, I think.
Yep.
Was one of the accusations.
Mm-hmm.
And it's weird that made her quit. And then she just went and made a sex tape on a boat.
Totally the same thing. You can say her husband flashed her while they were having sex.
Tommy D.
Yeah, that's right.
Slanging it.
Yeah, that's all I have to say
That's
about
a solid pick. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think he's probably a very good guy to be friends with long term.
No. But yeah, if you're interested in a good read, just Google Reddit Tim Allen stories. And I was down a rabbit hole one night for hours. I was like, a lot of people have a story about this guy, and none of them are good. Not a single one is like, hey, he was great. So yes,
I just wanted to reference somebody, but it could be on your list.
Nope.
Anyway,
It's all good. It's all good. All right, who's next? Will?
who's up?
Will.
Me, number 3.
Yeah.
My number 3 is Marcel Marceau.
Who?
Sam knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I want to hear about
I
it.
brought it up in the text. I go, can mimes count? And yeah, mimes can count.
Yep.
So
Yep.
the one thing you might know or may not know, I think probably not many people know this. During the war, don't ask me which one. No, he saved at least 70 Jewish children, and he led them from occupied France across the border into neutral Switzerland.
Okay.
Marcel later said that he used his acting and pantomime skills to keep the kids calm, and he pretended to be a Boy Scout troop leader taking the kids camping in order to get them across the border.
Wow.
So I really like his mime work. He's probably the most famous mime of all time, and for good reason. He's classically trained. I tried to Reddit it. Nobody's ever heard him speak. So, I mean, plus 1,000 aura there, huh? Just when I think of mimes, this is the classic version that comes to mind. And I know, Matt's a fan of mimes, specifically the SeaWorld mime, which I got onto, and I like seeing those reels come up. But he shouldn't have been kidnapping all those children. Kind of a shitbag move.
Yeah. Taking them over borders and everything. I mean, yeah, you take it out of context, and that's a really scary thing to do.
Lying to authority. I mean, not a good character.
No.
But played a good character.
played a lot of good characters. You know, the one bit part that he has, there's a movie that Mel Brooks made in the early 70s called Silent Movie, where he's just like, I just want to make a silent movie. And there's only one spoken line in the entire movie, and it's by him, it's by Marcel.
Marcel.
Marcel, yeah. Which is very funny, because that's the only time that he's ever spoken in any movie, and it's in a movie called Silent Movie, which is a very Mel Brooks joke.
Yes.
The whole movie was for that joke.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. He just answers a phone, and I think he just says like no or something. It's like one word, which is great.
I gotta get back into some Mel Brooks movies. I used to watch, pick them out. There's so many gems.
Holy shit. Yeah, there's some like kind of rare ones that no one ever talks about, which are still incredible. Like 12 Chairs. And my favorite one is To Be or Not to Be. The only movie that he starred in and did not direct. Where he plays a theater owner whose theater gets occupied by Nazis in World War II and has to go in and infiltrate the Nazis by pretending to be Hitler. And that's where his famous quote where they go, Heil Hitler, and he throws his little hand up and he goes, Heil myself, comes from. Which is very funny. And he was, he was chased out of Nazi Germany himself in the 40s. So, very, very personal movie to him. Anyways, he's still alive, which is incredible.
Yeah, I just looked it up to get a view of his movies. I mean, obviously my number one was Robin Hood Men in Tights.
Oh my God.
I see that he
Incredible.
had an animated movie in 2022 called Paws of Fury. Never heard of this.
I think maybe he guest voiced in that or something. He guest starred in that History of the World Part 2 or whatever, which I heard was just terrible.
Wasn't that a series though?
Yeah, that was a series.
Yeah, I was interested in it. Then I was like, oh wait, I don't want to watch like a whole series of this thing. It was one of those things I was like, yeah, I'll get around to it at some point, and I'm never gonna watch it now.
Yeah,
at some point.
I loved. There's a lot of like random little jokes that have nothing to necessarily do with being a part of his movie that I think are great. Like he advertises Spaceballs 3: The Search for 2. Just shit like that. He was so funny. But yeah, great pick. Weird reason. But yeah, when you said do mimes count, I honestly did not expect the mime to wind up on the list. So good wild card pick there. All right, Charles, my dude.
Yeah. My number 3 is another obvious one, especially with recent last couple of years. My number 3 is Vince McMahon.
Oh yeah,
because it doesn't even need to be the last couple years. It is very, if you've watched wrestling and pay attention to wrestling, it is very obvious Vince McMahon he likes the people he likes a lot. Like The Undertaker, he loves Mark Calloway, but he doesn't like a lot of people outside of it, and I think he only did things for his best interest. But he gave us all that is wrestling at this point. He has made so many people's careers. But I even think now wrestling, WB is we don't associate with Vince McMahon anymore. They literally separated their art from their creator and went, yeah, we're good. We're good at this point. So, but yeah, he's a very obvious one. If you don't know anything about Vince McMahon, it's like, what have you been doing?
It's so tough because obviously he had known shitty behavior for many decades, and everyone was pretty much okay, we understand, but we're still gonna celebrate him, and he just had to keep pushing it further and further and further as he got into his 70s and he's ready to retire. He's like, you know what I got to do before I go out? Completely ruin my name forever. So he just couldn't help himself, and he had to keep pushing it until he had to get sex trafficking charges brought against them.
Did they just drop that, or was that the other case?
Something else just dropped. The SEC's filing paperwork.
I don't know.
It's bribes.
Yeah.
Payoffs.
It also does suck though, because I've gone back and watched old pay-per-views and stuff that he is a feature on. I'm anytime he's in the Mr. McMahon role, incredible. like incredible work, especially from the Attitude Era. But then you're like, oh yeah, but this is just his real piece of shit version, but the TV friendly version of it. So
It's him toned down a notch to go on TV. Yep.
yes,
But I even loved him as a commentator, in the early 90s, late 80s, that sort of thing. And as a kid, I had no idea that he was the owner of the company or that he was like muscular or whatever. He just came across as like a nerd, in a stupid red bow tie and like, what a maneuver. And 1, 2, 3, got him. Oh, you didn't get him.
Regular Todd Pettengill.
Yeah. Only in the WWF will you see this type of action. All that shit. I ate it up as a kid. And I loved it. And I'll go back and have on much like some people will run like an ambient track from YouTube on in the background. I will have early 90s wrestling or late 80s wrestling on. It does has the same effect on me. And I was listening to or watching, it was like, I don't know, the 92 Royal Rumble or something. And Jerry the King Lawler is his like guest commentator, and he like stumbles over his words for a minute, and Vince McMahon like legitimately audibly loses it at him like on the air. And it's funny to go back and revisit that and be like, oh yeah, he always had a crazy temper. He just like did not show it back then. But yeah, how many stories about this guy over the last 40 years have come out?
yeah. And every single one of them, he just showed up on Raw the next day and just got his round of applause and walked off.
Hey, they're still using that catchphrase he pitched on his last TV appearance. Then now forever together.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
He added the together. Like, come on, guys, don't hate me. What I do love about his fall from grace, even though it was kind of a slow fall until very recently, it was that he grew an evil mustache.
His pencil mustache and his jet black hair. Yeah.
and his crazy cheekbones. Like, man,
What a choice.
Very strange.
Yeah, he went full cartoon villain. Like, he is what he looks like. An evil Walt Disney.
It's funny. Like, I'm not going to disagree that seems like a terrible person. But like same sort of thing with the Tim Allen thing. Like you'll hear like, or you read like Reddit threads about like people that have had like personal encounters with him. And every like fifth one or whatever would be like, I ran into him at like a restaurant and around Lake Winnipesaukee, and he paid for my meal when I told him I was a fan.
Well, what did she look like? Because he also paid other people's rent.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are those weird moments. I get the example I gave was like he loves Mark Calloway, The Undertaker. If you watch The Undertaker's documentary, there are moments in there where you're like, oh, Vince is a real person. Like, he has these real moments where he actually has emotion.
Yeah.
And then he'll also go like, he'll tell the camera crew to get out because he doesn't want them to see.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, you kind of forget. And then I'm like, yeah, but he's also the piece of shit, so you can get away from me anyway.
Right. Or he'll pay for like an old time wrestler's like medical bills out of his own like pocket for like years or something like that.
Yeah.
But then he'll also keep like a sex slave on the payroll.
Hey man, he just missed that one payment. He could still be in charge if he didn't miss that one payment.
What do you think about the ring boy scandal that's coming back now? That Linda McMahon's coming back into the White House.
I don't even I got the brief history of it from the Mr. McMahon documentary, but that's it. I don't know anything else about it.
Yeah,
Pat Patterson grooming boys. Is that what?
He was one of the names. There was somebody else that was on that ring crew that was like already a convicted like pedophile, and I think he had jail time and everything. And basically, it was just about them kind of looking the other way as like these young boys that would help them set up the ring like came out with allegations against the higher ups that they were being sexually abused, and the McMahons were like, yeah, don't worry about it. And then it's hard to say if that's true about Pat Patterson or not, because he was also one of the very first open gay people in wrestling, so it's like definitely easy fodder to be like, oh, you're gay, you're definitely a pedophile too. Especially in the 80s or early 90s, whenever this was, which stinks because Pat Patterson does seemed like, I mean, when he was alive, seemed like a cool guy. A lot of people were big fans of his, but yeah, hard to say if that one's true. But yeah, I guess that's one of those allegations that can come back to bite you when you run for a White House position.
Not in a Trump administration. That shit don't
No.
matter at all.
Well, that's
don't
the thing.
care.
It's a prereq, I think, for the Trump administration. Literally every single one of his cabinet picks has to have some sort of sexual harassment allegation against
He
them.
had to pardon half of them just to get them out of jail.
Wild. 2025. All the children in the street keep singing. Arr. What an age to live in.
Wow.
Yeah, great pick. Great pick. Strong pick. Shitty person.
Yeah.
Could have made my whole list wrestlers.
Yeah, we really
easily.
could have.
Very easily. I hate to say this, but my number 3 is John Lennon.
Okay, so looking this up, he was one of the people mentioned, but I didn't dig into it. I'm like, does John Lennon have like secret dirt or something?
So
here.
all right, so there's this like there's this period post Beatles. This would have been like throughout the 70s where I'm pretty sure was addicted to heroin like basically the whole time.
As the 70s were.
Yeah, like pretty badly. He was living in New York City. He was basically a shut-in. Didn't really go out, and eventually, like when he would start going out, he would just be absolutely belligerent at like everyone that he came in contact with, especially like anyone that came up to him, as a fan. He just like would not have it. He also had a whole not secret weird relationship with this young Asian woman who like Yoko, I guess, was like fine with. I forget this girl's name, but she was super young, and basically I think Yoko realized that John was like happy when he was around her, so she like made it happen, which is weird. And I think he was living with her for a while also in like California, and basically like abandoning his son. I think he abandoned his first son and his wife at the time, Julia? Nope. Maybe Julia. No, Julianne is his son. Cynthia with his first wife, and just abandoned them for Yoko, and then kind of left her for this other young woman. That girl, and I forget her name. She just came out with like a documentary about it too. But you can listen to all this on that Disgraceland podcast that I was mentioning earlier. So just like crazy drug problems, basically just like a shitty dad, belligerent alcoholic, like the whole thing. And I feel like he was just getting his shit together when he was assassinated, which sucks. He was like just mending his relationship with like Paul, which like could have led to a Beatles reunion, which who knows, could have been amazing. It could have been amazing, it could have been terrible. To like the Rolling Stones continuously pumping out new music, and you're like, that's enough. we're fine. Where, the Beatles put out music throughout the 60s, and then there was this hard cutoff where, they leave you wanting more forever. His solo music, I like most of it, but he would also... Have you guys ever heard the album Milk and Honey?
I've not. I've eaten at the restaurant.
Okay. It's very interesting because every other track it alternates between a track where he sings and a track where Yoko sings.
Oh, John.
And if you skip every other track, the album's amazing. But like you have to put up with hearing her, scream, which is just wild. It's just a wild choice. But he basically he made everyone endure her that he was around. There's that very famous clip online of him performing with Chuck Berry.
Yep.
And Yoko's there, and she's just screaming, and Chuck Berry cannot hide his expression. And they eventually like cut her mic or something like that, which is very funny. That clip still holds up today. But yeah, he was, one of the all-time best like songwriters, musicians, and the biggest band of all time, arguably. And unfortunately, just doesn't seem like a great dude. Just seems like he was kind of a piece of shit. Though there is, did any of you guys see, what is it called? It's the movie where the guy wakes up in a world where the Beatles never existed.
No.
I actually don't know.
So he's
I
like
feel-
I forget the name if you can, I don't know, easily Google it or something. But he's a musician, and he wakes up, he like gets hit by a bus or something and wakes up, and no one's ever heard of the Beatles, but he remembers all their songs. And so he starts to pass them off as his own, and everyone's like, holy shit, he's like a genius, because he just keeps cranking out these songs. And as he does it, you're like, oh wow, those songs actually are incredible. But there's a scene
Was this called Yesterday?
yeah, that's it. And yeah, sorry, spoiler alert for Yesterday, a weird indie movie from 10 years ago, where because he's in a world where the Beatles never existed, John Lennon never got famous and never got killed. And so he actually winds up visiting an elderly John Lennon who's just like a simple man living like on a seaside, in a seaside village. And it's beautiful, and it gets you very emotional because like obviously he was taken very young, but it would have been good to read some stories about him and be like, wow, he seemed like a really good dude. This is unfortunately not the case.
Nope. He was just a cuck for some Asian fucking lady.
Just a weird, smelly cuck.
I've seen now there's someone who you can hate their art and them as a person in Yoko Ono. But I saw a clip recently, I don't know, in the past year, of her doing like an art piece and just standing in a fucking art gallery and screaming.
Yep.
And then she stops abruptly and everybody starts clapping.
I
And
know.
I'm just like, what the fuck?
That's
How can you be so fucking into your own ego that you act like there's a reason behind that shit?
well, and then there's
so poignant.
and then there's the part where like if you're part of that crowd, you're like, what am I gonna do? Not applaud? It's Yoko Ono. It doesn't matter what she does, which sucks too. So the crowd is just as shitty as she is for thinking that that's art.
We need to normalize booing people for everyday,
Agreed.
well, acts that bother people.
Start with Hulk Hogan on Raw, and
Yes.
let that be the new normal going forward.
Hopefully the world is healing, and we're about to get rid of all these shitty people. But at the same token, it's the era of YouTubers and prank fucking videos where people are just bothering people going about their day.
I know.
There's nothing more infuriating than that.
No.
So when I hear the stories of, oh, this kid at a mall, like, cocked his fist at a guy as a joke, and then he got shot. It's
Yeah.
like, well, good.
Yeah.
That's what's supposed to happen.
Yeah,
That's
no
why you
shit.
have a right to carry. If somebody attacks you, you can shoot him.
Yep.
And the guy did get off on it. No charges for the shooting.
Yeah, of course. Of course. And I don't disagree with stuff like that. It's, yeah. We're living in kind of a rough time, I'm not going to lie. That's why I think I like a Tim Allen who's like very nostalgic of the 90s, or a Hulk Hogan who's very nostalgic of the 80s, because I know we had our set of problems then, but they just seem like as a culture we were just less shitty then. So, that said, Will, number 2?
Yes. I think we should take all of these people on our list and put them together in a house for a reality show.
on an island.
My number 2 is kind of a late add in here. Will Smith, Fresh
Oh,
Prince
yeah.
himself.
Okay. Yeah.
Not necessarily a terrible guy, but that whole Jada Pinkett thing really just exposed him for being the little fucking bitch that he is.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we all enjoyed the Fresh Prince show. His he had plenty of good movies: Men in Black, Independence Day. The song, Wiki Wiki Wild West. Yeah, that's a good song.
Some
Play
high
that
out.
giant spider.
Decent movie, all right? It's not the worst.
That was such an over-budgeted fucking kind of a flop of a movie.
Have you heard the relation of how Kevin Smith is involved with that? How
No.
that's related to the Kevin Smith Superman movie? Wild West?
No,
Wild
what
Wild
was
West?
that?
So that giant spider in Wild Wild West, the producer of Wild Wild West was also supposed to be the producer for Superman. So as he was talking to him, Superman was supposed to fight a giant spider. Like, that's what he wanted in the movie, and Kevin Smith never wrote it into it. And then a couple movies down the line, this giant mechanical spider shows up. And so apparently that's just that Kevin Smith is quoted saying like, I can't believe you got his fucking spider. Like,
Unreal.
The guy
Yeah.
was a born star. So charismatic.
oh my God, yeah.
Triple threat. At least I assume he can dance. I can't.
Actually, he must, right?
I think so. Charles, your mic might be a little hot too.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
yeah.
Oh yeah, it's turned all the way up.
I think we all remember that exact moment of seeing Wild Wild West and being like, this is not as good as what I expected from Will Smith. And he never quite recovered from there.
Fair.
No, he had some other ones. I Am Legend. That was a good movie.
That was decent.
The dog carried that movie.
That's true. Well, and then there's the extreme nepotism of him putting his son in things.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
You're like, you're
is
famous now. Go.
So back to the reasons why I don't like Will Smith. Is first that came out with he was in Scientology.
Oh no, I didn't even know
And-
that.
I didn't know that.
Right away, that's like, oh, come on. Like, you're in a cult? There's no other way to put it. And he has his wife, Jada Pinkett Smith, in the famous incident at the Oscars or whatever when Chris Rock made the joke about G.I. Jane 2 because of Jada Pinkett's bald head, which Will Smith laughed at, looked at his wife, and then said, oh, shit. Like, she's going to kill me.
Yep.
I got to go do something. And then he slaps Chris Rock for no fucking reason over a harmless fucking joke. And it's just like, man, you are so cucked. You are such a fucking bitch. And then they go on and do that interview at Jada's like podcast or whatever show. And just they get him crying and she's just tearing him down and being like, all this bullshit. He's just lost so much respect for the guy. It's like you are a shell of a man at this point. But Big Willie Style was a pretty good banger.
Yeah.
It's one of my wife's go-to karaoke songs. And I don't have kids. I shouldn't judge people how they raise their kids, but he cranked out some weirdos.
Willow seems like she's getting less shitty. Like she's trying to do.
She's like an actual musician, right?
Yeah, like she plays guitar, like not really well, but she's like learning it because she wants to do like rock music and like be her own person. But yeah, she was pushed out there. Like, you have a hit single now. You whip your hair back and forth.
Oh, that was her?
That was her.
That ain't bad.
And then yeah, his son who's in the Karate Kid, and then they did that After Earth movie together.
Passed on that one.
That was during the time where M. Night Shyamalan was not allowed to put his name on movies. Because
he had problems?
he did that movie, but the studio said, we're not putting your name anywhere near this movie, because he had such a reputation for like just putting out such shitty movies at the time. They're like, you can direct it, but we're gonna keep you a secret.
I thought that was unfair fucking hate. Like that was like the country turning on someone for being successful. One of those things. Like, there's a twist. Well, yeah, we love twists. That's why we go to the fucking movies. I want to go see a good twist, and he was great at it for a lot of movies.
I'll still see every one of his movies. I've seen them all, and like even more recently, like he's put out some decent movies. The most recent one that he put out with what Josh Hartnett or whatever, where he goes to a concert with his daughter. No, all right. It's not a spoiler because this is literally like the plot of the movie, but like it turns out that like everyone at the concert is like the concert's really like a ruse to like to get him there because he's like this mass serial killer and they're trying to catch him. But you know that within the first 2 minutes of the movie. But that movie starts really good and then gets real shitty, and I think he has a problem with his third acts in a lot of movies. So, but yeah, that was at that time where he wasn't allowed to put his name on anything. So Will Smith was like, well, since I can ask anything of you, or tell you to do anything, here's my son, make him famous. So, nepotism at its finest. All right, fine pick. Charles?
Yeah, my number 2. This one sucks because, I mean, she was one of the people who defined like our generation. My number 2 is J.K. Rowling.
Oh, that's such a good pick.
Solid.
Because all she had to do was take our money for the next several decades, die, and still be loved. That's all you had to do. She could have had like statues built after her and stuff, like where it's her and then like a thing of Harry Potter like right next to her. Like, I don't know. All that shit. Nope. She just had to keep diving down the rabbit hole of like Twitter and X and just. I gave her so many passes. So many. And then like the last 2 years I was like, I'm done. I don't give a shit about you anymore. I am just following, like, you are no longer part of the Harry Potter universe. We have this now. We don't need you anymore. And then, yeah, you can just go away. And I feel like that's most of the Harry Potter fandom at this point has done the same thing with her. We just don't give a shit about her anymore.
That's such a good pick because, like, you know, obviously her whole thing is that she's extremely anti-trans. And, like, listen, if that's your opinion, then that's your opinion. And she can have that opinion.
Yeah.
But she doesn't have to use her gigantic platform to spew hate when, like, the majority of our fans are either, like, children or children, you know, or people that grew up, you know, as children loving her and are now, like, wanting to pass it down to their children.
Yes.
That's a tough one. That's a tough one to support.
And to also, if you want to get to like the core of Harry Potter itself, it's the thing she has with trans people. Being Harry Potter is being born into this situation that you have no control over. It is literally part of your destiny to like be the thing. And then now she is also gonna go. No one can be like. It is yes, science is only two genders. Who gives a fuck beyond that point? If you want to call yourself whatever you want, go for it. But to then go and be like, you can't be anything but these two things. It's like, would you have told that to the boy who lived? Would you? This character you wrote? Like, would you have done the same thing? Like,
It's by the way, Charles, it's only 2 sexes, not genders. Gender is a social construct, okay?
oh, so I'm gonna get canceled now.
But,
You know what?
But
J.K. Rowling's off the list.
Yeah, my number 2 is Charles.
But to support what you kind of touching on, she got caught in an interview, she said something, she tweeted something, everybody got up in arms. Oh, that's anti-trans. Why don't you just shut the fuck up after that? Yeah. She continues. To this day, you know, I still once in a while see the thing come out. J.K. Rowling says, okay, skip, fucking who cares? Like, what are you doing? Are you on some self-righteous thing? Like, how are you going to win that battle?
Right.
You're going to end trans?
It's like she's at that point where she has more money than, you know, than she has any right to have, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if she loses every one of her sponsors or if no one ever buys a Harry Potter book again, or if Universal dumps Harry Potter World or whatever. She's sitting on, like, you know, what's her net worth? It's going to be, I'm just going to guess, $700 million. That's a guess right off the top of my head.
I'm going to say 1.2 bill.
Whew, you might be right.
As of 2024, this is $1 bill
Yeah.
U.S. So
So,
good for
like,
her.
Yeah. So she doesn't need to make any money. So all she's making this point is either enemies or she's really cozying up to a very specific group.
Yeah. Sure, have your opinion on this. The problem is, though, she was one of those people that, like, she got, like, one negative tweet back at it, and she's, like, one of those people who has to respond to them.
No.
So it's one of those things, as you dig deeper into that hole, like, if you want to be anti-trans, fine, go do that. But if you're going to keep digging that hole deeper, you're going to keep getting more and more and more people, like, just piling up against you. So she's just doubling down every time. And, yeah, it's like you said, she has money. She doesn't give a shit anymore. So.
Yeah. I would say, actually, that this is a great example, and I'm shocked I didn't add her to my list, because I think she is one of the few people that I do really hesitate to support the art in any way. Like my cousin has a daughter who just turned 6, 7, something like that. And so I was like, oh, she's just getting to that age where she could probably read the first Harry Potter book. And so I was Christmas shopping for her, and I was in Barnes & Noble, and they had this, like, like beautiful illustrated version. So it's like great for little kids because it's a big book, lots and lots and lots of photos, but it's the whole novel. And I was just like, do I want to even give her like the dollar she's gonna make off of getting this book? And I really, really hesitated on that for a while. And I was like, fuck it. Like the books are still good. So
Books are perfectly fine.
yeah, and I will say like this is gonna come up with my number 2 in a second. But unlike say a musician or an actor or whatever, typically an author, it's just them. Musicians gonna have a band, producers, all that stuff. You know, who knows how many hundreds, if not thousands, of people work on a movie. So you can be like, all right, just because this one shit ass is in this movie doesn't mean I don't have to appreciate all the hard work from everyone else in the movie. A book is just like, oh, it's 100% from this person who is a shit bitch. So that I think is what makes an author like that harder. I won't spoil Matt's number 1, who is my favorite author.
I'm proud to say that I have not supported her at all because I, for one, never watched the movies, and I got all of the audiobooks from LimeWire. Bitch.
Nice. LimeWire.
Not only do I have the books, I have one wand here that I just bought last year. I have 2 over there. I have a tattoo. I have clothing. I don't have a cloak. I don't have one of those. I don't have a class robe. But
Wait,
yes.
Before this podcast started, weren't you just talking about a cloak that you owned?
Shut up.
Shut up.
No, I don't have. That is the definitive line between, like, the fandoms are. There's the people who like Harry Potter, and then there's the ones who bought the robes. So those are the 2 lines.
That's the same person that's going to open up the robe and there's a WWE championship underneath it that they wear just out in public on the daily.
Oh, out in public? No,
Yeah.
I'm not wearing that.
Oh, that's an excellent pick. I'm voting for you this week.
Oh, thank you.
All right, my number 2 is a pretty obvious one. It's Michael Jackson.
This was the example I wanted to give, and I'm like,
Yeah.
it could be on someone's list, but like, this is the one that should come to everyone's top of mind.
Yeah.
For this.
I'm going to defend him, but go ahead.
Yeah. This is one of the examples where like when he died and like, you know, I think at the time I was working in a music store, and so a bunch of musicians around or whatever. We were talking about his music, and I think the group of us came to the conclusion we're like, I think we're just Quincy Jones fans. and that's okay. As far as I know, that guy wasn't a raging pedophile. As far as we know. But man, this guy, what a story. Still like one of the most fascinating people, I think, to ever live. How he could be a person. Like, I'm a person and he was a person, but like, we're not the same. No. We don't have the same thoughts.
We're not peers.
not peers in any way. It's just wild. His entire life story is just bananas, and you cannot deny the ridiculous talent this guy had. Just above the ridiculous dance moves and like the singing and the hit after hit and after hit. Like, he was definitely also born with perfect pitch. There's no way he didn't have perfect pitch. Which, by the way, if you don't know, is something that you have to be genetically born with. You cannot develop perfect pitch. You can develop really, really good, what's called relative pitch, where you can compare 2 notes and know what's happening. But like someone with perfect pitch, I've met 2 of them in my life, and one of them was
pitch.
That's perfect pitch. One of them was a girl, and it's wild. And when you test them, one of them was this girl at Berkeley, and you could just smash your hand onto a keyboard and she could tell you every note that you were touching, no matter how random you smash your hand. And then the other one was this little kid who actually was the son of the guy that owned the music store that I worked at, and he was also autistic, so he didn't really have the ability to express himself, but any song could be on it and be like, hey, what key is this in? And he'd just be like, B flat, like no problem. And there was one day when we were listening to a Beatles song, and what the Beatles used to do when they recorded is they would sometimes slow their tape down just a tiny bit. They'd be like, the song's too fast. Let's slow the tape down a tiny bit. So what should be a perfect A is now just south of A, just the tiniest bit. And that song was on one day, and we're like, what key is the song in? And he got so upset because he couldn't articulate that it wasn't in any key that he had to like go out in the back and then like be consoled for a while until we figured out what was happening. So Michael Jackson is like definitely one of these people that has that like completely superhero like extrasensory talent of just like being this perfect musician. But of course, also there was a lot of raging pedophilia, which is pretty hard to forgive. Yes, go on, Will.
Look, nobody convicted him. Nobody proved that he touched little boys or that he molested them. All he did was stare at their buttholes from across the room. Weird? Absolutely. Bad for the kids? Sure.
But who hasn't stared at a butt or two from across the room?
If Macaulay Culkin said he never did anything weird around him, that's good enough for me.
Oh, boy.
Look, he was robbed of his childhood, so it's a really tragic thing, of course.
Yeah.
But what you didn't touch on was the whole skin bleaching thing and the overwhelming plastic surgery. I mean, it's just I felt so bad for him even before he really had his downfall.
I gotta say,
and he named one of his kids fucking Blanket. The guy was obviously not in his right state of mind.
Yep.
I think he was kind of the precursor to what we're seeing with Britney Spears these days. Where she's just like, hey, I'm 5 years old. I'm moving to Mexico. She does because she has those resources.
Yeah. Look at my knives.
Michael Jackson on social media might have been a fucking wild ride.
Oh, my God. Yeah, we just missed that.
Damn.
Does anybody follow Paris Jackson on social media?
No.
Is that one of his daughters?
Yes. She's a babe.
Oh.
She's trying to make it on her own as like a musician, which is interesting because she's not just like coming up with like a Michael Jackson style, like immediately pushed to like the top of the charts sort of single. She's definitely like a super hippie, looks like she stinks, is probably like a little sticky. Definitely still a babe, but definitely makes like folky acoustic music with her, I'm assuming, boyfriend or something. But also like you look at her and you're like, this person is not genetically related to Michael Jackson whatsoever.
Well, yeah, actually, she's the child of the other person he was married to, Debbie Rowe, whoever that is.
Yeah, that was his nanny, I think.
Oh,
yeah,
what?
The nanny to his kids. Sorry, the nanny to his children. Yeah, they got married for a hot second.
Also very confusing. Her partner is marked as Justin Long, and it's not that Justin Long.
No,
it's not the one I. It's not one I have written a Discord story about seeing him in an elevator. It's a different Justin Long.
All right.
Yeah.
She does look very attractive, and I'm looking at one picture here where she looks like a very tired chipmunk.
Yeah, it seems like she seems like she's more down to earth than you would expect her to be, having Michael Jackson as a dad. The kids had to find him dead or whatever when he overdosed from propofol, which is also such a wild death. You know what I mean? You don't expect it. You expect like, okay, this is definitely like heart attack, drug overdose, whatever. And while it is technically a drug overdose, it's just like, oh no, he could only be like medically induced to sleep every night for the last like however many years. Just fucking bananas.
I have a Michael Jackson death story.
Go on.
So, the first big gig I worked on, so this was when I was up in living in New York City. So I was working on this indie film as a production assistant, but I was specifically to the main producer of the movie. So I worked under her. She was a giant Michael Jackson fan, so much so that she had a custom voicemail message. Like, so when you called her and went to voicemail, it was Michael Jackson. And like she would talk about him all the time. She'd gone to a couple of his concerts and stuff. I was sitting there just sitting on my laptop, like looking stuff up, and then I went, oh, and she went, what? And I was like, Michael Jackson just died? And I was expecting to be fired at that point. Luckily, I did not. But it was still just like, hey, I know this is like my like first major day working under you, but yeah, Mike, your hero died.
What a gift it is to be able to deliver that news to just the right person.
Yeah, that's my Michael Jackson. And then
The day
who died?
the day
Farrah
he was
Fawcett died.
found not guilty, we went out and celebrated by drinking beers and playing music on the jukebox.
Man, oh man, I wish that he's I think one of the few people that listen. I don't want to see any of the stuff that he got into, but like I do want to know like the truth about like not only that, but like what his actual day-to-day life was like. Like I want to see like an unfiltered. How does this man have breakfast in the morning? You know what I mean? Because you think he like drinks a bagel through like a silly straw that comes from the other room. You know what I mean? Then takes like a big slide down to a camel.
Rides the merry-go-round at 7:15.
Yeah. Apparently his Neverland Ranch was just like abandoned for like years and years and years, and I think they like just sold it or something.
Really?
Yeah, but like, man, even that guy's house, like hidden rooms, and like all sorts of weird bullshit. It's just absolutely fascinating. And man, that music is so fucking good.
I keep discovering that I don't know a lot of Michael Jackson songs, and like I'll hear a song come on, I'm like, oh, this sounds familiar, and I've gotten to the point that I've forgotten half of his work.
Yeah.
And also, for some reason, I can't get the bass slide out of "Can't Stop, Don't Stop Till You Get Enough." Mm-hmm. Like that, it just constantly pops into my head because it's one of the longest bass slides I've ever heard in my life. Just every now and then, I just hear this doom happening in the back of my head. I'm just like, oh, it's Michael Jackson. Here we go.
Yeah, man, Thriller, still one of my top albums. Doesn't get any better
Musical
than that.
and cinematic masterpiece.
Yep. Yep. Outrageous. Yeah. So anyways, had to have him on the list. Couldn't be a list without him.
Yep.
Sure. We'll never know the whole story, but whatever it is, it's going to be gross. Number ones.
Right. Number one. Excuse me. My number one, and as I mentioned earlier, I didn't think this guy was such a piece of shit until I was researching this. But my number one is Boston icon Steven Tyler.
Oh, yes. You have two people on your list with a similar story. Go on.
Yeah, I mean, I knew he was probably a rock star, shitbag, probably, hooked up with some underage girls. But I found out that he convinced the parents of a 14-year-old groupie, Julia Holcomb, to sign over guardianship so she could travel with him and live with him.
Yes, I remember this. Yes.
So, I mean, I'm sure he wasn't just platonic friends with this 14-year-old girl. And then at just some time, he just got sick of her and gave her back to her parents at the age of 17.
Yep.
That's fucking horrible.
Yeah, that's a real thing.
But yeah, and he's a rock and roll Hall of Famer. Mm-hmm. Love his music. Dream On, one of my favorites.
Oh, you actually like Aerosmith?
You kind of have to if you're from Boston. It's kind of like a Dropkick Murphys thing.
Are they a Boston band?
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Very Boston.
I've tried Aerosmith. I could never get into it. So much so that I dated a girl who was very into Aerosmith, and I never told her. I was like, "Yeah, I hate this band."
Yeah. No love for Sweet Emotion.
No, I like Dream On, but it's because it doesn't sound like Aerosmith. I think it's like the one song that like stands out from the rest of their music. But everything else, I'm just like, whatever. I will say I do like his daughter, so there's that.
Wow.
I'm a fan of Liv Tyler.
Yep. Yeah, he lives or lived in Cohasset, I think, which was right by the Apple store I used to work at. So he would come in there. We would see him. So they're like very local.
Wow.
Oh, I left out a pretty big detail. Their relationship broke up, and he turned her back over to her parents after an unexpected pregnancy, which did not come to term.
Yeah. Seems like there were a lot of those back then, too. Liv Tyler included, right? I mean, she was an unexpected... Like, didn't she meet him when she was already a full-grown adult?
Really?
I
Don't know
believe-
that much about
I believe so. He did not raise her. And I'm pretty sure she just showed up and then was in Armageddon immediately. Yeah, no, that's another really great example. That's just like the most famous story, so there's more. Like there's got to be countless other incidents of him just being like, a creepy shitbag. And again, this was also during the time when he was on all the drugs. They apparently got sober in the 80s or whatever and had like kind of a comeback. But I think the 17-year-old thing was prior to that.
And if you've seen him in like the last 5 to 8 years, he's so dehydrated. He looks like a fucking Muppet.
Yeah.
He's had so much plastic surgery that's just not aged well.
Yeah. He looks
His
like
hair
Janice.
is all stringy. And apparently he lost his voice, and Aerosmith is no more. They will not tour again.
Yeah.
Oh,
This was supposed to be their last tour, but
Every time they've announced a tour over the last 10 years, I was just like, there's no reason to buy tickets. They will cancel it. Yeah, I can't think of a tour that they haven't canceled in the last decade at least. And I never got to see them live, which, whatever. It's one of those like big famous bands that you're like, oh, maybe I had the shot to see them, but just didn't happen, and I'm not going to lose any sleep about it.
yeah, I'm sure they didn't sound all that great. But just being in the arena,
Yeah.
in the environment, it's got to be fun.
No more Rock and Roller Coaster with Aerosmith.
Oh yeah.
They were replacing with other Muppets. Dr. Teeth.
I was waiting to try and bridge that gap there.
Yep.
You mentioned he looks like one. I was going to say, are you sure he's not going to be in the new attraction?
Yep. I did meet his wife when I worked at the Apple store. She came in to buy like MacBook Pros for everyone in the family. And I worked with her. It was like during the holidays, for Christmas or whatever. So I was out of my normal role and just in salesperson mode. And I worked with her for like 2 or 3 hours or something like that. And she was wicked cool. She was very chill, very down to earth. It was only like taking someone else to be like, that's Steven Tyler's wife, right? Like she didn't come out and be like, do you know who I am? Because I had some people like that as well. But she was wicked cool and like, talked to her all about like celebrating the holidays and like, oh, these are great gifts, and walked her out to her car with all the bags or whatever, and she wished me a Merry Christmas, and it was a very great interaction. And I kept thinking the whole time, just like, you're married to a fucking maniac.
Did you ask her how many abortions he made her have?
Which is funny because at the time he was definitely in his 60s probably, and she was in her 30s. Quite attractive. But yeah, a great number one, a gentleman's number one if there ever was one.
Yeah, I didn't realize he was that much of a shitbag, and it kind of hurts.
Yep.
That's like if I found out, the guy from Dropkick Murphys was, stealing from Walmart. I'd be devastated.
No.
Probably does.
Who hasn't?
I should know. I know him in an intimate way.
Let's not clarify it anymore for those of you that maybe didn't watch that one
listen
episode.
Listen to the back catalog. We're gonna make you listen to it.
Awesome. All right, Charles, let's hear it. Your number one.
Yes, my number one. Should not be this big of a build-up for a band that means fucking nothing. My number one is a band called Lost Prophets. They were a band in the mid-2000s. If you played the first Need for Speed Underground, their song To Hell We Ride was on there. Off of their album Start Something, which is actually one of my favorite albums, like put together start to finish. I love this whole thing, and it's just 2000s fucking like rock. That's all it is. But why are they problematic? Lead singer Ian Watkins was convicted of 13 child sex offenses. And if we're going to get into very gritty detail, the rumor was that most likely one of the sex offenses was a baby. So he is of the worst kind of people, so much so that his bandmates, one of them wanted to kill him when they found out because they didn't know about it. So much so that they even had their own music taken down for a while. So he couldn't make money off of them. And actually, as of recently, I don't know what the deal was, but their music has popped back up on Spotify. They were off of Spotify, iTunes. You could only pirate their shit at that point because they didn't want him making more money. But at this point, it is now back up. You can listen to it. I don't know if it supports them, but this is one of those ones where if you Google Lost Prophets on like Reddit, most people are like, fuck this band. We're not supporting them. You can support the rest of the band went on to have their own shit. So you can support them individually, but like people do not support him. And this is the one where I'm like, what he did is fucking terrible, but this album is so good that I can't not listen to it. So yeah, and there's probably gonna be people like you could go listen to it, and people are gonna be like, "Oh, this is not good." I don't know. I just like that one album.
That's fucking ridiculous, though, because babies aren't even sexy.
It's a whole so he was clearly setting up he would lure in it was a whole power over people thing. Like if it went on long enough, he would have had a full cult. That's what it was getting at. He was one of those people, but he went to jail for 35 years. So
this was Ian Watkins. Is that his name?
Ian Watkins. Actually, yeah. String of child sex offenses, including the attempted rape of a baby.
So for all of you that are upset about this story, as you should be,
yes.
I see a little headline here that last year in July, he was stabbed in prison with a sharpened toilet brush after a drug debt.
Yep. So he's doing well. He's doing well in the prison system. But yeah, I don't know. I just can't. I think about it every time I listen to it, like, this is probably terrible, but you know what? I actually recently found out my buddy posted, he's one of those people who likes to post like what he's listening to at the gym on his Instagram story. And he had one of the songs from the other one. I texted, I was like, I think you're the only other person I know who listens to this band still. And I was like, and he's like, I know, it's terrible. And I'm like, yeah, but it's undeniable, right? And he's like, so I was like, yeah.
He's got this playlist of Lost Prophets and Aerosmith and Jerry Seinfeld.
Kanye West, Morgan Wallen.
Sam,
Hulk Hogan has an album, doesn't he?
Yes, he does.
It's not as good as the Macho
Posse.
Man's.
No.
No.
Sam, is your number one a wrestler?
No.
So, obviously, Chris Benoit could have made anyone's list here.
I thought about it, but I do not care that much about Chris Benoit. So,
And I remember this time I was working at a National Guard armory. We were doing like lead abatement, and there was some National Guard members working out in the basement, and the one guy was listening to wrestling themes, and the Benoit song came on, and I'm like, is it appropriate to still listen to that? But I just had that moment of like, should I?
So,
whatever.
So funny story about that song. So Chris Benoit, there was like probably a 10 to 15-ish year period where 10 years where I didn't watch wrestling. It just was not on my radar. I was too busy or whatever. And that's when he got really popular. So like I missed the whole Chris Benoit thing when it happened. But I was and still am a big Our Lady Peace fan. And so so they have like this EP that has that song on it, and they do a live version, and they say like, this is from like an upcoming soundtrack. We can't tell any more about that. And they launch into it. And I was like, this song fucking rocks. And then like going back years later, I'd be like, oh, it's Chris Benoit's theme song. And I was like, crap. But I liked the song before it was a serial killer's theme song. I'm still allowed to like that song. That would be a great pick as well, obviously. Also, who narrowly missed my list was Jared Leto. Speaking of cult followers,
Yeah,
cult leaders.
Oh, come on, he's an Oscar winner. He's fine.
Yeah, even though he has like his own weird island where he brings like groups of girls and walks around dressed as Jesus.
So didn't he do that as a joke?
I don't.
That's what I read.
I don't know. I don't think so. Anyways, my number one's Marilyn Manson.
This was on my short list, but I was like, this is one I feel like might be unsaved.
It's always the people you kind of definitely suspect. Man, it's funny. So like, well, not funny. It's unfortunate. the allegations from wasn't his wife. They never got married, right?
Which one? Evan? Rachel Wood?
Yeah.
The person I think is one of the most beautiful people in the world.
Yeah, they never got married, I don't think.
I don't think so.
Yeah. But yes, of course, like lots of abuse allegations from her, a lot of like unwanted like sexual acts and a lot of stuff just kind of keeping her down in a lot of different ways, and it doesn't surprise me because he has been known throughout the years for some shitty behavior, and going back and rewatching some videos of his shitty behavior that's been captured on camera, you're like, yeah, he probably sucks really bad. I just watched one today. It just came up just arbitrarily in my news feed, and it's they're just it's probably early to mid 2000s. It's a concert. Would have been mid 2000s because he's dressed as Mickey Mouse. So he's got like the top half of his face painted black, and he's got the Mickey Mouse ears. And he's in some sort of argument with John Five, who, from what I understand, seems to be a very good person. And he's basically just like trying to like physically and definitely verbally attack him on stage. And John Five like throws his guitar down, you know what I mean? And then you see Manson like say something to him, and you see him just like pick his guitar back up with just fucking this look on his face, like, you piece of shit, and he finishes playing, but like, man, you can tell that there was some tension there. And of course, John Five does not play for Marilyn Manson anymore. So like known shitty behavior on stage. He also got in trouble for I think he like teabagged a security guard during a show. He like literally put his balls on this guy's head in the middle of a show. Guy was not very happy about that. He sued. That was going on for a long time. I've been to a few shows, or I went in the 90s, and yeah, there was one show where somebody threw something on stage, and he stopped the show, and he told the crowd that like until somebody beat the shit out of that guy, they weren't going to perform anymore. Which is like an extremely dangerous thing to say when like you have this crowd of angry, angry young men in the palm of your hand. So yeah, that guy went out on a stretcher. So like, yeah, a lot of really shitty behavior over the years. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of his music I really like. I'm not gonna stop listening to it. Even the new album that came out just a couple months ago, that's post all allegations or whatever, his like comeback album. I listened to it with very low expectations because the last 15 years or so of his music I have really disliked. But this album's really good. And I was like, God damn it, I really like this, and would go see him in concert again, despite knowing how much of a shitbutt he is. I think since all that stuff went down, I believe he did get sober, lost a lot of weight, stopped drinking, all that stuff. He looks great. He sounds great. Maybe he's less of a shitbutt. I don't know. But yeah, he's one of those people where like, he's just a terrible person, but man, does he have some good music.
Guy's got licks.
He's got some fucking licks, kid. Yeah, and there's articles that you can read of people that have known him since the late 80s, and like how much of a shitbag he's been the whole time. Before he was famous, as he was getting famous, once he was famous, like it's never stopped. But yeah, Marilyn Manson he is my number one. Got his new album on vinyl.
On vinyl. Come on.
Sick.
Hell yeah.
Nice.
Beautiful people.
Well, that's our show. we have fun butt lists.
We do have a couple.
Oh, nice.
Real quick, honorable mention. I
Yeah.
wanted this to be my number one, but I just couldn't find none of his movies jumped out at me as me liking them enough. But fucking Woody Allen,
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
That was another problematic
famously,
person.
adopted a 10-year-old daughter, and then married her eventually. Still married too, I believe.
Yep.
I will go as far as to say that I'm a person who has a degree in film. I took film history, film studies several times. I don't fucking get it. I don't get Woody Allen films. I don't get why people put it up on a fucking pedestal. I'm like, this is just it's a basic movie. It's a basic movie. Like, so I don't get it. I never got the appeal, which is why he didn't get on my list. Because honestly, if people like, fuck both aspects of him.
I feel the same way. Yep.
Yeah.
Definitely. Great honorable mention.
Yeah. But yes, the fun butts. First up, we have Dad. Number 5, he is Justin Roiland, the Rick and Morty creator.
Oh, yeah.
Really
Great
good,
pick.
really good pick, actually. Number 4, he is Cody from Step by Step.
Yep. Also a wife beater. Yep.
Yep, that's what he says. Didn't love the wife beatings. 3, Jeffrey Jones. I like the movies that he starred in. Didn't like the child porn stuff.
Yep. They wrote him out of Beetlejuice very nicely.
I have yet to see Beetlejuice. 2, loved Bill Cosby on The Cosby Show. Don't love the rapes. And then number 1, I really hate that I'm saying this, but Michael Jackson grew up on his music, but had a tough time watching Leaving Neverland.
That's what
I feel
happens.
like anybody should have had a tough time watching Leaving Neverland.
This is great.
Next up, we have Kevin Weaver. Number 5, he has J.K. Rowling. He says, how dare she point out the fact that men can't be women. 4, Tom Cruise. Scientology is weird. That's fair. If I liked any of Tom Cruise's work, though, that was another one.
I think he has a rep for being a dickhead on set too. There's a famous clip of him freaking out at people during a COVID movie.
That was during COVID, though, and it was because that's the whole thing. I don't know. It's
Well,
one of
yeah.
the few times I've sided with him.
Yeah.
The crew fucked up. But 3, Michael Jackson. He touched kids. 2, anybody know who Scott Adams is?
No.
But his note is, while discussing a Twitter poll, he said, "Get away from black people." I don't know who Scott Adams is. We're lost.
Sounds like a
Kevin
shit.
Weaver with the Black Lives Matter movement going on.
Yeah. And number 1, P. Diddy released the Diddy tapes. Mm-hmm. Right.
Wheels
Next
on
up, we have another rare appearance from Roman Hamadan. Number 5, Tom Cruise. 4, J.K. Rowling. 3, Kevin Spacey. That was on my short. He was on my short list.
What a great pick.
2, Matthew Bistany.
Wonderful. Why didn't any of us do that?
Oh no!
Yeah.
What
So
a
good.
missed opportunity.
The bit was
Holy
right there the
shit.
whole time. I saw that early on, and I was like, "Oh my god, that's such a beautiful pick." And number 1, he has Robert Downey Jr. Perfect example of a redemption story. It's like, yeah.
Yeah.
And
People can
then
change.
Kevin Weaver did say you need to clarify if your number 2 is the cop or the podcast host, which he said, which Dad said, plot twist, they're both the same person. So, next up we have Cameron B. Number 5, Neil Gaiman. This is a recent.
yeah.
He almost made it on my list as well. Neil Gaiman, damn it, why can't good authors keep their hands to themselves? 4, Kevin Spacey, damn it, why can't good actors keep their hands to themselves? 3, Michael Jackson, damn it, why can't good singers keep their hands to themselves? 2, John Wayne Gacy, damn it, why can't good clowns keep their hands to themselves? Number 1, Adolf Hitler, damn it, why can't good painters keep their country to themselves?
That's a fabulous list.
Incredible. Yeah, absolutely incredible. We have next up we have Gray. Number 5, Mel Gibson. That's a good one. 4, Jonah Hill. I don't know what he did.
He just sucks.
Sure.
Yeah.
3, Louis C.K. That's a toss up for me. 2,
Yeah.
Danny Masterson. What did he?
I think he was raped.
Do you?
Yeah,
No, I know what
Masterson
he
raped
did,
someone.
but like, are you just holding on to that '70s show?
He's also a Scientologist.
That too, but like, it was just that '70s show. That's all he's got,
It
right?
was a big show.
He was a great character on that show, though.
I guess. And number 1, Jeremy Clarkson. I don't agree with that. Jeremy Clarkson from the Grand Tour. Like, I don't know. Well, he did slap the producer of Top Gear, which is what got him removed. But I mean, he has some political standings, but it's like, you know what you're getting, type of thing. I don't know. Defend yourself, Gray. Lastly, we have Dingus Cunnilingus Adams.
Oh no.
Number 5, Aubrey Gold. Look, sure, she killed a guy, but what did you expect from a porn star? Of course her body count would be high. 4, sure, Hitler might have performed a horrific mass genocide and fucked his cousin, but have you seen some of his landscape paintings? I really like Ruin of a Monastery in Messina. 3, Pogo the Clown. Maybe John Wayne Gacy killed some people, but Pogo was innocent as far as I'm concerned. 2, Big Dick. Yes, he killed Mr. Hands with his penis, but I think it's time we forgive this horse for his crimes. Number 1. So apparently I'm a controversial figure in the eyes of some people. But even if you put all my charitable work with the Jehovah You Don't Want to Witness this aside, there's still several well-produced and directed VHS copies of crazy orgies that even feature my beautiful meat Excalibur and winking butthole.
He put himself at number 1?
Yes, he did.
All right.
Really, really good list.
Yeah.
I like Dingus Adams always finds a way to be last or second to last. Like, and I'm like, does he types that out and then he just sits there? He like tries to time out our episodes. Like he put in an algorithm to figure out.
Yeah. 2 hours on the dot, then bam.
Bam, got him.
Really fantastic list from the Fun Butts. Keep that up. I want to propose a future episode topic where we draft a Fun Butt and we defend their lists on a given topic. we'll work that one out. I think that'll be fun because we have some very good Fun Butt lists out there. Hey, thanks for everyone for tuning in. That was a good one. There was a lot of maybe too much pedophilia talk in it. But at least we all landed on the right side of the argument. Fabulous show, boys. Great lists. And in the words of whose number 1 was Matt Pistone? Or number 2?
Number 2.
Roman Hamadans, number 2.
In the words of Roman Hamadans, number 2, we'll smell you later.